gentlemen. What's good, y'all? It's Chris Gary. Andrew Benjamin is out by someplace in Manhattan that I don't want to talk about. But yeah, still, this is the We Are Rising podcast. We talk about everything about the Rising Federation of Japanese Mixed Martial Arts. Or if things go a little bit haywire, we tell you can follow us on Twitter at We Are Rising Pod, at A Benjamin, at Chris Gary 92. Follow us. Check out our podcast on Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, which we hope to subscribe to now, Apple Podcasts, wherever you podcast choice. But still, I think we got somebody on here right now that's just basically waiting to talk to us, and might as well go ahead and give him a quick introduction. He stands in at 5 feet. No, he stands in at 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighs in at 202 pounds. Originally from Othello, Washington, fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri, he will be competing against. He will be competing against New Japan Young Lion Yuya Uemura at GCW Josh Barnett Bloodsport 7 this weekend on 22nd. Please welcome the American Wolf, Davey Richards. How are you, sir?
Hello, thanks for having me.
No problem. Since I might have to leave anytime soon, Davey, my big question before we talk about Bloodsport is, you've been gone for 4 years. What made you come back?
I think I always planned on coming back. I just had to get through medical school, and there's still a lot of things left that I want to do in wrestling, and I'm more in a place in my life to where I can kind of do my style of wrestling, which is kind of more in line with what Bloodsport's about. So I'm really excited for the event.
I know you've done some pro wrestling a few times this year, but you go away for a year in pro wrestling, it feels like you've been gone for 10 years. I imagine what it must be like for 4 years. Like, how is it like? As the environment is just like when you first stepped into your first match 2021, were you just like, oh my God, everything's just so different now?
Yeah, everything's a lot different in a good way. I think people are a lot more thankful and excited to be there. I think that, I left wrestling, but then the world kind of stopped because of the pandemic. So I was out for, 4 years, but I think wrestling kind of stopped for at least a good year for the most part anyways, at least fans in the building. So I think most people are just excited to be back, and the wrestlers are excited to be back, and it's just kind of a win-win.
And so I know that when you started out wrestling, you were really one of the pioneers to like the strong, hard-hitting MMA style, and then wrestling kind of took a turn where it's kind of like a much more, I guess, high flying, is much more kind of like boom, boom, boom now. But do you think that this hard hitting MMA strong style, thanks to people like Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, and you coming back, do you think that has a much bigger chance of catching on again, like it did back 2009, 2010, 2011?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, wrestling goes through phases, and I was there when I really saw the high flying stuff really get really popular, and that had its time. And I mean, it's still relevant, but I'd say overall there's a lot more room for people to be individuals in wrestling. I don't know if there's really a concern so much with like fads or styles. I think people are open and respectful and into different people, whether it be someone like my style or someone like a high flyer somewhere or something like that. So I think there's good wrestling, just good wrestling, and different styles and different strokes for different folks, kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, let's talk about your Bloodsport. I just wish this had been around like 2009, 2010. I'm pretty sure you would have loved that Bloodsport could have been around, just like, because that just fits like what you do. And so, yeah, well, you're going to be facing. So I think a lot of people may not know this, but or remember even, because it's been such a long time. You were in New Japan at one time, I think in the Chaos stable, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so how does it feel that you're going to be facing the next generation of young lion and Yuya Uemura?
Yeah, it's exciting. I just saw him wrestle at West Coast Pro a couple weeks ago, and he's extremely talented. He's one of those guys is going to be a big star. So yeah, I mean, I love Japanese wrestling. It's been obviously a major influence on me and my style. So I feel like I'm kind of coming home. I assimilate very well into that style. So it's going to be a good match.
Now, for those that don't know, Bloodsport is you only can finish the fight by strikes or submission. When you go into a fight that has that type of requirement to finish somebody, do you just look to like, is that like, okay, I want to finish this guy by submission, or are you gonna try to strike with him? Like, how are you preparing for a fight against somebody like Uemura?
I mean, I've always trained in both. You know, a lot of catch wrestling, a lot of jujitsu, a lot of Muay Thai. So I mean, I've finished people with knocking them out. I'm finishing people with my numerous leg locks. So yeah, it's probably going to be a leg lock or a knockout. That's what I'm shooting for.
Chris, I'll throw the questions to you now. I have to take care of something, but I'll throw the questions to you now.
Okay, cool. So when it comes down to, I mean, obviously, Davey, this will be your first set of wrestling matches after this since the passing of one of your trainers, the legendary Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. How has Mr. Wonderful helped you out in your career and helped you flourish as a professional wrestler, not just a person in general?
Paul trained me. I mean, Paul gave me all the fundamentals to start my career. I had help from other people. A guy named Steve Platinum and a guy named Tony Casina helped me out a lot. But without Paul, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have gotten the training to get inside the ring. And he really instilled a very strong work ethic, and then wrestling is sport first. So I'm really thankful for him.
Exactly, I can understand that. And as far as, what do you hope the future of professional wrestling could learn from a guy such as yourself, or could learn from guys who have trained in the same style of wrestling as you?
I just think that treated as a sport, obviously requires athleticism, requires discipline. And I mean, it is competition. Everyone wants to go out there and have the best match and doesn't want to get outdone. So, I mean, there is a strong element of competition. So I just think what I bring to it is, I guess the mindset of actual competition, and that brings out the best in me and my opponents.
Understood. Now, about this blood sport card that you're going to be on, I know that you competed under hybrid rules before, but what would you basically hope that fans would get out of seeing you on a card like Bloodsport or competing in the world of professional wrestling in general?
Just passion. I mean, Bloodsport, you know what you're walking into. It's it's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be as real as it gets. So I mean, it's just you have to have passion for wrestling. You can't just look to be entertaining people to go out there and do that kind of stuff. So I prefer that kind of style. I was consider myself a competitor and an athlete first. So I think I think if you believe in what you're doing and your opponent believes in what they're doing, I think it's very easy to encapsulate the fans and really draws in their emotional interest.
Understood. When it comes down to facing off against Fleamore, I know my podcast partner has already talked about this. Have you heard much about Fleamore? But when it comes down to the type of system that he wrestles, that New Japan Young Lions, do you think that that system has helped cultivate young competitors?
Yeah, because it instills the same work ethic and the same mindset that Paul instilled in me, which is it's sport first. So I know he's trained and training like a professional athlete. I know he's well versed in amateur wrestling because that's a requirement for New Japan. So I expect that he to come out and attempt to grapple, and that's fine. And I amateur wrestled for a long time. So I mean, I know he's I know what to expect from him, and I'm sure he's got a few tricks that he's developed since graduating from the dojo. So it'll be a good test.
Understood. Now, as far as opponents go, obviously you have history with Eddie Edwards. You also have history with Adam Cole, who's currently in AEW and has wrestled all over the world. But would you welcome the opportunity of facing either man, or Taiji Ishimori, for instance, who has competed in Pro Wrestling Noah and New Japan under Bloodsport rules?
Yeah, that'd be great. I've wrestled Ishimori before. So I'd look forward to doing it again. So yeah, and especially any match under Bloodsport rules is right up my alley.
Understood. And speaking of that, who would you say has been the toughest opponent you've ever faced, regardless of, how you felt about them personally or professionally?
I think TJ Perkins, just because he's so good in every level and every facet of the game. He really draws the best out of you, and he can make you look awfully foolish if you're not on your A game.
Understood. I mean, a lot of people think of TJ Perkins differently for multiple other reasons, but I can understand that. I mean, the dude has trained under Antonio Inoki himself, so it would be understandable for him to be one of the toughest people that you've ever faced.
Yeah, he's extremely talented.
Mm-hmm. And about your current career, I mean, obviously you're a 16-time tag team champ across 8 different promotions. But would you basically say that your tag team days are done now that you're mostly a singles competitor, or would you welcome the idea of competing in a team sometime down the line?
Yeah, I'm always going to be, a tag team wrestler. I mean, I don't like to label myself as one or the other. Again, you should be well versed in everything. So I always welcome the chance to tag with Eddie or in any tag team. But if that happens, great. And if it doesn't, I'll continue my my journey as a singles wrestler.
Understood. Now, steering a little bit out of the world of professional wrestling, obviously you're a licensed technician, you're a licensed EMT, but when it comes down to, professional wrestling, when you left the sport in 2017, did you actually feel like you would be happier, going into the line of work of being a first responder, knowing how much nowadays first responders are often taken for granted?
I didn't know if it was a question about being happier. It was just, I left to go to school. That was the main reason I left. But
my apologies, sir.
No, I worked full time as a firefighter paramedic while I was gone. So I get to do both. I love what I do in the ring, and I love what I do outside the ring. So I'm a pretty lucky guy to get to spend all day doing what I love, whether it be wrestling or working in emergency medicine. So it's a win-win for me.
Understood. And I mean, when it comes down to, nowadays with the pandemic, with the fact that a lot of people, especially a lot of people on the front lines, have been busting their asses just to save people or make sure people are all right. Would you think that we the people owe first responders a debt of gratitude?
No, it's we all sign up for the job to help those. It's a thankless job, but it's a very important job. So we don't expect anything, but we're always there and driven to help and save where needed.
Understood. Can you repeat the answer again, Davey? You kind of broken up a little bit.
I would say that we don't expect it nor require it, but everyone who gets into the job knows it's going to be, a rough job. You got to be kind of a special person to run towards the burning building or run towards the gunshots. So we don't expect that or require it, but it's we're very passionate about what we do, and usually the results of our job is thanks enough.
Understood. Now, as far as, and we're going back to the whole Bloodsport card, as far as Bloodsport goes, this is going to be your first time wrestling on a GCW card. Are you hoping that it'll be well expected? Because, GCW is basically a promotion where a lot of the times they do hardcore death matches, but this show particularly is about real sports.
Yeah, GCW is really, growing to develop a great product, and very deservedly so. They have great talent, and they have great people backstage. So I'm happy to be on Bloodsport, and if something else stems from it, then fantastic. And if not, that And if not, then, you know, so be it. But hey, man, the doors are opening at the show I'm at. I really got to go.
Understood.
Yeah.
And as far as, you know, a question I just asked earlier, out of Eddie Edwards, Taiji Shimori, Adam Cole, who would you like to face under Bloodsport rules? You know, I would like to reiterate on that question. As far as who do you feel would fare well in a thing like Bloodsport, who would you potentially want to see in that type of position?
I think someone like TJ Perkins would be really good at Bloodsport, so I'd be happy to see that. I'm a big TJ Perkins fan. If you haven't been able to tell, so. Anyways.